Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this amendment is actually intended to improve the bill. One of the things that I appreciate is this effort to address small business. I agree. While I don't agree that government is not important to help business and opportunity, I do agree that it is essential to that purpose, along with the private sector. I also do agree that the private sector and small business are key. Here's a reality. You talking small business, you got to be talking about franchising. It is an important part of what it means to be in small business. So to that end, let me share this amendment with you. This amendment ensures that issues important to franchisees be considered within the new office and committee this bill creates. If this bill passes, the Office of the Advocate for Small Business Capital Formation and Small Business Capital Formation Advisory Committee will be charged to consider specific issues of concern to small businesses. One of the areas where I've become increasingly concerned is the sustainability of the franchise model. Franchise businesses represent a large segment of retail and service businesses. Oftentimes, it's the way that people get into small businesses through franchise. You can't ignore the franchise reality. Franchise businesses represent a large segment. They're rapidly replacing more traditional forms of small business ownership in the American economy. And franchise businesses consist of a joint enterprise between a franchisor and a franchisee, each with a vested interest in the success of the business. Unfortunately, there can be a significant imbalance of power within the relationship between the franchisor in the franchisor's favor. This imbalance could lead to franchisor's abuses of that power. Not all the time, but it has happened, and we need an advocate for small business to be on the lookout. This can contribute to an environment that makes it difficult for the franchisee to retain their profits and provide fair wages and reasonable benefits to workers. Since many franchise corporations are regulated by Securities and Exchange Commission, it makes sense that any office charged with identifying problems that small businesses have with securing access to capital ensures that franchisees are fairly treated. As you can see from the chart up here, a number of franchisees have very high loan charge-offs, very high. 2,500 Quiznos loans were charged off. Quiznos was regulated by the SEC. When Quiznos went bankrupt, the media reported that Avenue Capital and Fortress wrote off $450 million of investor money. What they didn't report is that the franchisee owners, as a class, lost more than $1.5 billion on investment and business losses. And that doesn't look at the fact that many of these franchisees also filed bankruptcy too. People also forget that on most investments, the SEC protects the investor risk is limited by investment. Worst case, they lose what they invested. As you may have learned from watching Shark Tank in franchising, personal guarantees are usually required. So someone buying a franchise not only risks the investment, but potentially every asset that the investor has. My amendment adds language related to franchisees throughout the bill, and the Small Business Advocate should do its part to reset the balance of the franchisor-franchisee relationship. It should make recommendations on how to put more power in the hands of small business owners. We need government entities to insist on transparent franchise agreements based on honesty, fairness, and equal standing for both parties, and there should be no misrepresentation in required disclosure. Franchisees should be able to exercise their First Amendment rights to discuss their experiences with the brand, which have been denied, and to participate in franchisee associations without retaliation. The franchisor practices must be in good faith and protect the ability of the business owner to build equity in the business. So I have two amendments related to I have two bills separate from this conversation on franchise issues. Two bills that I'm pushing. I'd love some support on. One is the Fair Franchisee Act, which just makes sure that you have a workable relationship between two very imbalanced entities, and the other is the SBA Franchise Loans Transparency Act, which would simply require that when we invest our money with an SBA loan, that real solid reliable data is given to the franchisee so they can know, is this likely to succeed or fail? So I welcome support on both. If my amendment's not adopted, I fear we're going to have a missed opportunity to protect current and future small business franchisee owners. I would like to elaborate a little bit if somebody wants to give me some time. I'm ran out. Well, all I want to say is, look, you're right. Franchisees are small businesses, but franchisees have a unique set of concerns. And all I'm saying is, let's make sure we address those too. You know, the independent coffee shop is a central part of small business on Main Street, and there's 1,000 other types of businesses like that too. But another major type of small business is a franchisee, and the problems are unique because if you just start your own small business, you have all kinds of issues from employees to financing. I used to be a small business owner myself. I ran my own law firm. But if I were a franchise, I would have a major corporation that I would have to negotiate all kinds of stuff with. And I need somebody on my side. I'm hoping your idea can be that. I'm not here to mess with your bill. I'm here to make it a better one. And I wish you guys would just, if it's not going to hurt anything, and if you say it's already covered, why not just agree to accept my amendment? If
I'd reclaim my time, because I think then we start to delineate all different kinds of small businesses, and I'll tell you, Mr. Ellison, I'll look at your bills. I haven't yet, your franchise bills, but I would argue that all small businesses are unique. That's what's so cool about American small businesses. I could tell you, there's a lot of small cheese companies that are very unique in my district, little brat manufacturers, micro brewers that are unique, that have special challenges.
Will the gentleman yield for a quick
sure.
moment? And I totally am with you there. But what I'm saying is, when I had Ellison law offices opened, if I wanted to hire an investigator, I hired him. If I couldn't afford him, I better let him go or get more cases in the door. And a lot of the cheese companies that you're talking about are the same way. They're independent operators, and they rise or fall based on their judgment and their luck and their skill. In the franchise situation, it's not that simple. You got a whole nother big dog that you got to deal with, and that is a unique sort of thing. So I yield back.
And thank you. And I just want to be clear, this is a small business capital bill. So the problems that you're talking about are problems that you might have with the franchise as a franchisee that I think belongs somewhere else. But we're talking about the capital portion that I think is unique to all small businesses and the problems that they're having today.
You got 47 more seconds. Can I talk a little bit?
I yield.
So here's why. I'm gonna make my case one more time. Small businesses get SBA loans to open up. But the problem is that the franchisor, not in all cases, some relationships are good, doesn't always give them the proper financials that they need. And so you and I, as taxpayers, are guaranteeing loans when the franchisee, who we care about, isn't even being played square with as they're trying to finance their business to get it off the ground. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm just saying, put them in, and it's all good. And I yield back.
And thank you.
Thank you for that. And I look, this is no like liberal messaging bill. You know, this is real. You know, I really want to talk to y'all about this, and I hope that you consider this thing up here, this chart. This chart, the bills that I have submitted, the bills, they are in energy and commerce, and I'll try to move them as best I can there. But there is a whole element of this franchisee thing that has to do with financing too. And so in that case, I think this amendment does fit with your bill. Now, if you guys are telling me you haven't had a chance to really think about it, my question to you is, can we have a serious discussion about
reclaiming my time? We're happy to have a serious discussion about it. I think clearly the question is, where does this, your other pieces of legislation identify another place in the federal system for these issues, and that may be the appropriate place for the concerns that you raise, legitimate concerns that you raise. To the extent that there are issues that carry over to the fundamental purpose of this bill and the purview of the SEC. We would argue that it's covered under the language here, but we'll certainly take a look at the language that you've presented as amendment. I'm not in a position to support it now, but happy to discuss it further with you as this moves forward.
Since you got a little bit more
Yield
time.
your time, yeah, sure.
Yeah, since you got a little more time. You know, look, this language, I've met with people who represent franchisees. I didn't just write it myself. They know the purpose of your bill, and we thought it fit well. It's pretty clear you guys aren't ready to include my amendment on this thing right now. I will assure you you're making a mistake, but I'm going to give you a chance to correct it later. But thank you for listening.
Maybe I should reclaim my time before you go any further. No, seriously, this is the first time that I've even thought about it, and I'm happy to have a further discussion and think about it more.
All right.
And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.